Don't turn around. Please don't turn around. The words came out broken, barely a whisper, but they hit Dylan Cross harder than any punch he'd ever taken. A 6-year-old boy, small, shaking, desperate, had just climbed onto the diner stool beside him and wrapped his arms around Dylan's waist like he was the last solid thing in the world. The kid wasn't crying, wasn't screaming. He was hiding. And the strangest part? He wasn't afraid of Dylan. He was afraid of whoever was behind him. If you want to see how this story ends, hit that subscribe button right now and stay with me until the very last word. Drop a comment telling me what city you are watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Dylan Cross hadn't come to Mercer's Diner looking for trouble. He'd come for coffee, black, no sugar, and maybe a slice of pie if Linda was working the counter. He'd been coming here for 3 years, ever since he'd moved back to Riverside after a decade away, and in all that time, nobody had ever sat next to him voluntarily. People saw the tattoos first, then the scars, then the leather vest with the patches that told a story most folks didn't want to hear. They saw what they expected to see. A man who'd lived hard, a man who'd probably hurt people, a man best left alone. Dylan was fine with that. He'd spent his 20s in the Army, his early 30s with a motorcycle club that walked the line between brotherhood and chaos, and his late 30s trying to figure out what the hell came next when you'd burned every bridge behind you. Solitude was easier, safer, less complicated. But today, a 6-year-old boy named Noah Harper climbed onto the stool beside him, grabbed Dylan's forearm with both hands, and whispered those 5 words that changed everything. Don't turn around. Please don't turn around. Dylan's hand froze halfway to his coffee cup. He didn't move, didn't speak, didn't turn his head even an inch, because something in the kid's voice, something raw and real and terrified, told him this wasn't a game. Hey, Dylan said quietly, his voice low enough that only the boy could hear. You okay? The kid's fingers tightened. No. One word. Flat. Honest. Dylan's pulse kicked up a notch. You hurt? No. Someone chasing you? The boy's breath hitched. Yes. Dylan's jaw tightened. He kept his eyes forward, scanning the diner in his peripheral vision. Linda was refilling coffee at the far end of the counter. A couple sat in a booth near the window, arguing quietly over a bill. An older man in a trucker cap read the newspaper in the corner. Nothing looked wrong, but Dylan had learned a long time ago that danger didn't always announce itself. Where are they? Dylan asked. Outside, the boy whispered. He's waiting. How long's he been following you? Since school. Dylan's stomach dropped. What's your name, kid? Noah. Okay, Noah, my name's Dylan. You're doing great. Just keep holding on. All right, nobody's gonna hurt you. Noah's grip didn't loosen. He's been following me for 3 blocks. Did he say anything to you? No, he just stayed close. Close how? Like walking behind me. But every time I turned around, he'd stop and look at something else, like a store window or his phone. Dylan's blood went cold. That was intentional, calculated. This wasn't some random creep. This was someone who knew what he was doing. Did he try to grab you? No, but when I started running, he ran too. So you ran here? Yeah, I saw your bike outside and I thought maybe... The boy's voice cracked. Dylan exhaled slowly, forcing himself to stay calm. You thought maybe I could help. Yeah. Smart kid. Noah's breathing evened out just a little. My mom says I shouldn't talk to strangers. Your mom's right, but right now you did exactly what you were supposed to do. You found help. That's the most important thing. Are you going to call the police? Yeah, but first I need you to tell me everything you remember about this guy. Can you do that? Noah nodded against Dylan's arm. He's tall, taller than you. Okay, what else? He's wearing a gray jacket, like a suit jacket, and jeans. Good. Hair color? Brown, short. Glasses? No. How old? I don't know. Old, like 30? Dylan almost smiled despite the situation. To a 6-year-old, 30 was ancient. Any tattoos, scars, anything that stands out? Noah hesitated. He has a ring on his hand, big and silver. Which hand? Right. Dylan filed that away. You're doing great, Noah. One more question. Did he ever get close enough that you could smell anything? Cologne, cigarettes, anything like that? Noah's face scrunched up, thinking. He smelled like coffee, and something else. Something sweet, like candy. No, like flowers. Cologne, Shawnee. Dylan's mind worked fast. A man in a suit jacket, expensive cologne, a silver ring, following a kid home from school with enough discipline to stay just far enough back to avoid suspicion. This wasn't opportunistic. This was planned. Noah, listen to me. I'm going to reach into my pocket very slowly and pull out my phone. I'm going to call the police and they're going to come help. But I need you to stay calm and keep your voice low. Okay, we don't want to spook this guy. Why not? Because if he knows you told someone, he might run. And if he runs, we can't catch him. Noah's eyes widen. You're going to catch him. That's the plan. What if he runs anyway? Dylan's voice dropped even lower, carrying a weight that made the boy's spine straighten. Then I'll make sure he doesn't get far. Noah studied him for a long moment, and Dylan saw something shift in the kid's expression, a fragile, desperate kind of trust that no 6-year-old should ever have to place in a stranger. But Noah didn't have a choice, and Dylan wasn't about to let him down. He pulled out his phone with one hand, keeping the other arm loose so Noah could hold on. He dialed 911, kept his voice low, and spoke in clipped, efficient sentences. This is Dylan Cross. I'm at Mercer's Diner on 4th and Lincoln. I've got a 6-year-old boy here who says he's been followed by an adult male since leaving school. Suspect is approximately 6 feet tall, brown hair, gray suit jacket, jeans, silver ring on his right hand. Kid says the guy's outside right now. I need a unit here, ASAP. The dispatcher's voice came through calm and professional. Can you confirm the child is safe? Affirmative. He's with me. No injuries. Can you confirm the suspect's current location? Dylan glanced toward the window. Stand by. He looked at Noah. Where exactly is he? Across the street. By the blue car. Dylan's eyes tracked the street outside. There, a man leaning against a sedan, gray jacket, jeans, hands in his pockets, watching the diner. Dylan's pulse steadied into something cold and focused. Suspect is across the street, east side, leaning against a blue sedan, partial plate visible, sending photo now. He snapped a picture through the window, subtle fast, and sent it to the dispatcher. Photo received. Units are en route. ETA 3 minutes. Do not engage. Copy. Dylan ended the call. Noah looked up at him. Are they coming? Yeah, they're coming. What do we do until then? We stay right here. We act normal. We don't give him any reason to think something's wrong. But what if he comes in? Dylan's jaw set. Then we deal with it. Noah's fingers tightened again, and Dylan could feel the kid's heartbeat through his thin jacket, fast, erratic, terrified. Hey, Dylan said quietly. Look at me. Noah tilted his head up. I know you're scared. That's okay. Being scared means you're smart. It means you know something's wrong. But here's the thing, you're not alone anymore. You've got me, and I'm not going anywhere until your mom gets here and you're safe. You understand? Noah's eyes shimmered, but he blinked hard and nodded. Good, now tell me something. You like dinosaurs? The question caught Noah off guard. What? Dinosaurs? You into them? Yeah. Which one's your favorite? Noah blinked. I don't know. Maybe a T-Rex. T-Rex is solid. Apex predator. Respect. Me, I always liked the Ankylosaurus. The one with the club tail. Exactly. Nobody messed with that guy. Walked around with armor and a weapon. That's smart. Noah's breathing slowed just a fraction. Why are you asking me about dinosaurs? Because right now we need to look like we're having a normal conversation. Just a guy and a kid talking about random stuff. Nothing weird. Nothing suspicious. Understanding dawned in Noah's eyes. Oh. Yeah, so keep talking. Tell me more about dinosaurs. What's the coolest one you know about? Maybe the pteranodon, it could fly? Good choice. Wings are always an advantage. They kept talking about dinosaurs, about school, about Noah's teacher, Mrs. Henderson, who gave out too much homework. And the whole time Dylan's awareness never left the man across the street. Watching, waiting. Then 2 minutes and 40 seconds after Dylan made the call, the bell above the diner door rang. Dylan's entire body went still. Noah's fingers clamped down on his arm like a vice. Because the man who walked in wasn't a police officer. It was him. Gray jacket, brown hair, silver ring catching the fluorescent light. He walked in like he belonged there, like he had every right. He didn't look at Noah, didn't look at Dylan. He just walked to the counter 3 seats down and sat, ordered coffee, smiled at Linda, and then just for a second, just long enough to send a message, he glanced sideways, right at Noah. Dylan felt the boy stop breathing. "Keep talking," Dylan said quietly. "Tell me about the pteranodon." Noah's voice came out shaky. It, it had a wingspan of 20 feet. "That's huge. What else?" "It ate fish." The man stirred sugar into his coffee, slow, deliberate. Dylan's hand moved to the edge of the counter, fingers curling around the wood. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to move, to stand up, to confront, to eliminate the threat. But he didn't. Because the moment he did, the situation would escalate. And escalation meant chaos. Chaos meant unpredictability. Unpredictability meant Noah could get hurt. So Dylan stayed exactly where he was and waited. The man sipped his coffee. Noah kept talking about dinosaurs, his voice barely audible now. And Dylan counted the seconds until the sirens arrived. 30 seconds. 45. A minute. The man checked his watch, looked at the door, looked at Noah again, longer this time. Dylan's voice stayed calm, but there was steel underneath. "Noah, listen very carefully. If I tell you to run, you run straight to Linda behind the counter. You get behind her and you stay there. You don't look back. You don't stop. You understand?" Noah's breath hitched. "Yeah." "Good." The man stood up. Dylan's muscles coiled, but the man didn't walk toward them. He walked toward the restroom, disappeared around the corner. The second he was out of sight, Dylan leaned down to Noah. "When the police get here, you tell them everything. You tell them that man right there is the one who followed you. You point him out. You don't hesitate. Got it?" "What if he hears me?" "He won't, because by the time you say anything, he's going to be in handcuffs." Noah looked up at him wide-eyed. "How do you know?" Dylan's expression didn't change. "Because I've dealt with guys like him before, and they always make the same mistake." "What mistake?" "They think nobody's watching." Sirens. Faint at first, then louder. The man came out of the restroom, stopped, listened. His eyes darted to the window, then to Noah, then to Dylan. And for the first time, something shifted in his expression, a flicker of recognition. He knew. He knew Dylan had made the call. The man's hand moved toward his pocket. Dylan was already moving. He stood up, 6'3", 230 pounds of controlled violence, and positioned himself directly between Noah and the man. "Don't," Dylan said quietly. One word, flat, final. The man froze. His hand hovered near his pocket. Dylan's eyes didn't blink. "Whatever you're thinking about doing right now, don't." The man's jaw tightened. "I don't know what you think is happening here. I know exactly what's happening. And so do you. So here's what's going to happen next. You're going to put your hands where I can see them. You're going to stay right there. And when those cops walk through that door, you're going to do exactly what they tell you. Because if you don't," Dylan stepped forward. Just one step. But the weight of it, the promise of it, landed like a threat. "Then you and I are going to have a very different conversation." The man's face flushed. "You can't." "I can, and I will." The siren stopped right outside. Car doors slammed. Footsteps. The bell rang again. 2 deputies walked in calm professional hands near their belts. The older one, a graying man with sharp eyes, assessed the situation in seconds. "Somebody call about a situation." Dylan nodded toward the man. "That's him." Noah's voice, small but steady, spoke up. "He followed me home from school." The deputy's eyes hardened. "Sir, I'm going to need you to keep your hands visible." The man's face twisted. "This is ridiculous. I was just getting coffee." "Hands, now." The man complied, but his eyes burned with rage. The deputies moved in, smooth and efficient. "Turn around, hands behind your back." "This is harassment. You're being detained for questioning. You have the right to remain silent." The rest of the Miranda warning faded into background noise as Dylan turned back to Noah. The boy was shaking now, not with fear, but with adrenaline crash. "You did good," Dylan said quietly. Noah looked up at him, tears finally spilling over. "I was so scared." "I know, but you were brave anyway. That's what matters." The deputy approached them. "You Dylan Cross?" "Yeah." "You made the call?" "I did." "Good instincts. We've been looking for this guy for 2 weeks. 3 other incidents." Same pattern. He never got close enough to grab anyone, but the deputy trailed off, glancing at Noah. Yeah, Dylan said. I got it. The deputy crouched down to Noah's level. Hey, buddy, you did the right thing. You are safe now. We're going to call you your mom, okay? Noah nodded, still holding on to Dylan's arm. The deputy stood, pulled out his radio, and stepped away to make the call. Dylan looked down at the kid. Your mom's going to be here soon. Will you stay until she gets here? Something in Dylan's chest pulled tight. Yeah, I'll stay. They sat back down at the counter. Linda brought over 2 slices of pie apple for Dylan, chocolate for Noah, and didn't say a word. She just squeezed Dylan's shoulder once and walked away. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Noah spoke. Dylan. Yeah. Why did you help me? Dylan set down his fork. That was a hell of a question. Because you asked. But you don't even know me. Doesn't matter. Why not? Dylan turned to look at him, really look at him. Because when I was your age, nobody helped me when I needed it. And I swore that if I ever got the chance, I'd make sure no other kid felt that way. Noah's eyes widened. You were scared when you were little? Yeah, a lot. What were you scared of? Dylan's jaw worked for a moment. People who were supposed to protect me. The weight of that settled between them. Noah looked down at his pie. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me who I am. And right now, that's exactly who you needed. The door opened again. A woman burst in, mid-30s, blonde eyes wild with panic. Noah! The boy's face lit up. Mom! He slid off the stool and ran to her, and she dropped to her knees, pulling him into a fierce hug. Oh my God, baby, are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm okay, Mom. Dylan helped me. The woman looked up, her eyes landing on Dylan. He stood slowly, keeping his hands visible, his expression neutral. She rose to her feet, still holding Noah close. You're Dylan. Yes, ma'am. She stared at him for a long moment, taking in the tattoos, the scars, the leather vest. Then she crossed the space between them and hugged him. Dylan froze. He hadn't been hugged in, God, he couldn't even remember. Thank you, she whispered, her voice breaking. Thank you so much. Dylan's arms came up slowly, awkwardly, and patted her back once. Just did what anyone should have done. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. No, not anyone. Most people would have looked the other way. Dylan didn't know what to say to that. The deputy approached. Mrs. Harper, we're going to need you and Noah to come down to the station to give a statement. She nodded, still holding Noah's hand. Of course, whatever you need. She looked back at Dylan. Will you be around in case Noah wants to talk? Dylan hesitated. Every instinct told him to say no, to walk away, to go back to being invisible. But then Noah looked up at him, and the kid's voice, small and hopeful, cut through every defense Dylan had built. Please, Dylan exhaled slowly. Yeah, I'll be around. Mrs. Harper smiled, shaky but genuine. Thank you. They left with the deputies, Noah looking back once to wave. Dylan waved back. Then he sat down at the counter, picked up his cold coffee, and stared at the spot where Noah had been sitting. Linda came over. You okay? Dylan didn't answer right away. Finally, he spoke. I don't know. Linda refilled his coffee without asking. For what it's worth, you did a good thing today. Yeah, but it cost you something. Dylan looked up at her. How'd you know? Because I've seen that look before, on men who spent their whole lives keeping people out, and then one day somebody gets in. Dylan's hand tightened around his cup. I didn't ask for this. Nobody ever does. Linda walked away, leaving Dylan alone with his thoughts. Outside, the police cruiser pulled away, taking the man who'd followed Noah and probably others off the streets. For now. But Dylan knew how this worked. There would be lawyers, bail, trials, and maybe, just maybe, the system would fail. Again. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Sarah Harper, Noah's mom. The deputy gave me your number. Noah wanted me to ask if you'd come by the station tomorrow. He wants to thank you properly. Dylan stared at the message for a long time. Every part of him wanted to say no, wanted to delete the number, wanted to disappear back into the quiet, solitary life he'd built. But he thought about the way Noah had looked at him. Not with fear, with trust. And for the first time in a decade, Dylan Cross typed back, yeah, I'll be there. The police station smelled like burnt coffee and old paperwork. Dylan walked through the glass doors at 9 the next morning, feeling every pair of eyes land on him like accusations. He'd showered, changed into a clean shirt, but the tattoos still showed. The scars still told their story. The leather vest still hung from his shoulders like armor he couldn't shed. A young officer at the front desk looked up, his hand moving instinctively toward his belt. Dylan stopped 3 feet away, kept his hands visible. "I'm here to see Noah Harper. Sarah Harper called me." The officer's eyes narrowed. "Name Dylan Cross." Recognition flickered across the kid's face. "You're the guy from yesterday, the diner." "Yeah." The officer's posture softened slightly. "Hold on." He picked up the phone, spoke quietly, then hung up. "Deputy Martinez is coming out. Have a seat." Dylan sat in the plastic chair, bolted to the floor, watching the station move around him. Cops coming and going, phones ringing. Somewhere down the hall, a woman was crying. 5 minutes later, the deputy from yesterday, Martinez, emerged through the security door. "Mr. Cross, thanks for coming in." Dylan stood. "Noah wanted to see me." "He did, but before you go back, I need a minute of your time." Dylan's jaw tightened. "Something wrong?" Martinez gestured toward a side office. "Just want to talk." They walked into a small room with a table and 2 chairs. Martinez closed the door but didn't lock it. Sat down. Motioned for Dylan to do the same. Dylan remained standing. "I'm not under investigation, am I?" "No, but I need to understand who I'm letting near that kid." Dylan's expression went flat. "You ran my record already. You know exactly who I am." "I know what the system says. I want to know what you say." "Why does it matter?" "Because Noah Harper won't stop talking about you, and his mother is seriously considering letting you stay in his life. So yeah, it matters." Dylan's hands curled into fists at his sides. "What do you want to know?" "You served. Army right. 3 tours. Infantry. Honorable discharge. Medical. Took shrapnel in Kandahar. And after that," Dylan's voice went cold, "after that I came home to a country that did not know what to do with me. Spent 2 years trying to fit back into normal life. Didn't work." "So you joined the Sinner's MC." Dylan's eyes hardened. "I found people who understood what it meant to survive something most people couldn't imagine. And you stayed with them for 6 years. 5.5. Why'd you leave?" Dylan looked Martinez dead in the eye. "Because I realized I was becoming the kind of man I'd spent my whole life trying not to be." Silence stretched between them. Martinez leaned back. "You ever hurt anyone who didn't deserve it?" "No." "You ever hurt anyone who did deserve it?" Dylan didn't answer. Martinez nodded slowly. "That's what I thought. Am I done here?" "One more question. Why'd you help Noah?" "I already answered that." "Not to me." Dylan exhaled through his nose. "Because nobody helped me when I needed it. And I'm tired of watching the world fail kids who can't protect themselves." Martinez studied him for a long moment. Then he stood open the door. "They're in the family room, second door on the left." Dylan walked past him without another word. The family room was smaller than he expected, soft lighting a couch, some toys in the corner. Sarah Harper sat on the edge of the couch, her hands wrapped around a coffee cup. Noah stood by the window staring out at the parking lot. The moment Dylan walked in, Noah turned. "Dylan." The kid crossed the room in 3 steps and hugged him. Dylan's arms hung at his sides for a heartbeat, then slowly came up to rest on Noah's shoulders. "Hey, kid." Sarah stood setting down her coffee. "Thank you for coming." "You asked." "I wasn't sure you would." Dylan glanced down at Noah, who was still holding on. "Yeah, well, kid's persuasive." Sarah's smile was tired but genuine. "He is. He gets that from his dad." Dylan caught the past tense. "He's not deployed Marines. He's been overseas for 8 months. Dylan's expression shifted, understanding landing like, "Wait, so you're doing this alone?" "For now. Mark comes home in 4 months. I have to keep Noah safe until then." "You're doing fine." "Am I?" Her voice cracked. "I didn't even know someone was following him. I didn't see it. What kind of mother?" "The kind who's surviving." Dylan's voice cut through her spiral. "You can't see everything. That's not your fault." Noah pulled back, looking up at Dylan. "Mom cried all night." "Noah," Sarah started. "It's okay," Dylan said. "Sometimes that's what you need to do." Noah's face scrunched up. "I don't like it when she cries." "I know, but she's crying because she loves you. That's not a bad thing." Sarah wiped her eyes quickly. "Deputy Martinez said you wanted to talk to Noah. I'll give you 2 some space." Stay, Dylan said. You should hear this too. She hesitated, then sat back down. Dylan crouched to Noah's level. How are you holding up? I'm okay. The deputies were nice. They gave me hot chocolate. Good. They treat you right. Yeah, they asked me a lot of questions. I bet you answer them all. I tried, but some of them were hard. Like what? Noah's voice dropped. They asked if the man ever touched me. Dylan's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. What did you say? I said no, because he didn't. He just followed me. That's all they needed to know. You told the truth. That's what matters. But what if I forgot something important? You won't. And if you remember something later, you can always tell them. Noah nodded, but his hands twisted together. Dylan, yeah, what's going to happen to him, the man? Dylan glanced at Sarah, who nodded slightly. He's going to go to jail. For how long? I don't know. That's up to a judge. What if they let him go? There it was, the question to Dylan had been dreading. They won't. But what if they do? Dylan's hand came up steady and rested on Noah's shoulder. Then I'll make sure he doesn't come near you again. How? Because I'll be watching, and so will your mom, and so will the police. You're not alone, Noah, not anymore. The boy's eyes searched his face. Promise? Dylan didn't make promises. He'd learned a long time ago that promises were just words people used to feel better about things they couldn't control. But looking at this kid, this scared, brave 6-year-old kid who'd chosen him out of everyone in that diner, Dylan heard himself say it anyway. Promise. Noah's shoulders relaxed. Then he asked the question Dylan hadn't seen coming. Can I give you something? What? Noah ran to his backpack in the corner, unzipped it, and pulled out a small plastic dinosaur green with armor plating and a club tail, an ankylosaurus. You said it was your favorite. I want you to have mine. Dylan stared at the toy. Noah, I can't. Please, I have other ones, but I want you to have this one. So you remember. Remember what? Noah's voice went quiet. That you saved me. Something in Dylan's chest cracked wide open. He took the dinosaur, his hand dwarfing the small plastic figure. Thanks, kid. Noah beamed. Sarah's voice came out thick. Noah, honey, can you go grab my phone from the front desk? I think I left it there. Okay, Mom. The boy ran out, and Sarah waited until the door closed before she spoke. I need to ask you something. Dylan straightened, pocketing the dinosaur. Go ahead. How dangerous is this? Depends on what happens next. Martinez said they're charging him with stalking and attempted kidnapping. But he's already lawyered up. His attorney is pushing for bail. Dylan's blood went cold. When hearings tomorrow morning. And if he makes bail, then he's out until trial. Dylan turned away, his hands curling into fists. That's insane. That's the system. The system's broken. I know. Her voice trembled. I know, and I'm terrified, and I don't know what to do. Dylan turned back. You keep Noah close. You vary your routine. You don't go anywhere alone. You trust your instincts. And you call me if anything feels wrong. Why would you do this? Do what? Stay involved. You don't owe us anything. Dylan's voice dropped. I owe myself, and I'm done walking away from people who need help. Sarah's eyes filled. I don't even know you. You know enough. Dwight Martinez pulled your record. He showed me. Dylan went still. And I don't care. I don't care what you did before yesterday. I only care about what you did when my son needed someone. You didn't hesitate. You didn't judge. You just helped. That's who you are to me. Dylan didn't know what to say to that. Noah came back in holding Sarah's phone. Found it. It was on the desk. Thank you, baby. Martinez appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Harper, we need you to sign a few more forms. Of course, she looked at Dylan. Will you stay with Noah for a minute? Yeah, she followed Martinez out. Noah climbed onto the couch, patting the spot next to him. Dylan sat the couch creaking under his weight. Dylan. Yeah, do you have any kids? No. Oh, and why not? Never found the right person. My dad says you have to find someone who makes you want to be better. Your dad sounds smart. He is. He teaches me stuff all the time, like how to tie knots and how to read maps. Those are good skills. Yeah, he says when he comes home, we're going to go camping. That'll be fun. Noah's face fell slightly. I wish he was here now. I know, but he's coming back. And when he does, you're going to have a lot to tell him. About yesterday? About yesterday, about how brave you were. Noah looked down at his hands. I didn't feel brave. Brave isn't about not being scared. It's about doing the right thing even when you're scared. Is that what you did in the army? Dylan's throat tightened. Yeah, every day. Were you scared a lot? More than I wanted to be. But you still did it. I didn't have a choice. Yes, you did. You could have run away. Dylan looked at the kid surprised. Where'd you learn that? My dad. He says being a Marine means choosing to stand when everyone else runs. He says that's what heroes do. Your dad's right. Are you a hero? Dylan's laugh came out hollow. No, kid, I'm not. But you saved me. That doesn't make me a hero. That makes me a guy who did one decent thing. My mom thinks you're a hero. Your mom's being nice. No, she's not. She never lies. She says lying is for cowards. Dylan couldn't argue with that. The door opened again. Sarah came back in, but her face had changed, pale tight, scared. Dylan stood immediately. What happened? They just told me. The man from yesterday, his name is Robert Finch. He's a teacher. Elementary school, 4th grade. Dylan's stomach dropped. Which school? Sarah's voice shook. Lincoln Elementary, 3 miles from Noah's school. Noah's face went white. That's where Emma goes. My friend Emma. Dylan's mind raced. How long has he been teaching there? 2 years. And nobody knew some, they're investigating now. But Martinez said there might be other victims. Dylan's fist clenched so hard his knuckles cracked. How many? They don't know yet. They're interviewing students and parents, but the pattern matches. Kids who walked home alone. Kids who reported feeling followed but couldn't identify who. Dylan's voice went flat. What else did Martinez say? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. He said this guy was careful, really careful. He never got close enough to grab anyone, never left evidence, just watched and waited. Until yesterday when Noah ran into the diner and you called it in, they had nothing. So Noah's the one who stopped him. Yes. Dylan looked down at the boy who was staring at his hands. You hear that, Noah? You stopped him. You saved other kids by being brave. Noah's voice came out small. But what if I hadn't? What if I just kept walking? You didn't. That's what matters. But what if, hey, Dylan crouched down again. No what ifs. You did everything right. You trusted your instincts. You ran. You found help. You stopped a bad guy from hurting anyone else. That's huge. Noah's lip trembled. I want my dad. Sarah pulled him into a hug. I know, baby. Me too. Dylan stood giving them space. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He opened it. This is Martinez. Bail hearing moved to this afternoon, 3 p.m. Thought you should know. Dylan typed back immediately. I'll be there. Martinez replied fast. Why? Because I want to see his face when they deny him. And if they don't, Dylan stared at the screen. Then I'll deal with it. He pocketed the phone and looked at Sarah. I have to go, but I need you to do something for me. What? Don't take Noah home tonight. Go stay with family. Or a hotel, somewhere Finch doesn't know about. Her face went even paler. You think he'll come after us? I think he's a predator, and predators don't like being caught. So until we know he's staying locked up, you play it safe. Okay, we will. Dylan started toward the door, then stopped. One more thing. What time does Noah get out of school? 3:15. Why? Because if Finch makes bail, the first thing he's going to do is watch the schools. I want to make sure you're not there when he does. Sarah's voice broke. This can't be happening. It is, but you're not facing it alone. He walked out before she could respond. Martinez was waiting in the hall. You're going to the hearing. Yeah. Why? Dylan's eyes went cold. Because I want him to see me. I want him to know that if he walks out of that courthouse, I'll be the first person he runs into. That's not a threat, is it? It's a promise. Martinez stepped closer, lowering his voice. Look, I get it. You want to protect that kid, but if you do something stupid, I won't. How do I know that? Dylan's jaw tightened. Because I've already lost everything once. I'm not losing my freedom over a piece of garbage like Robert Finch. But he needs to know that someone's watching. Someone who doesn't need a badge or a warrant to make his life very uncomfortable. Martinez stared at him, then slowly he nodded. 3 p.m. courtroom B, Don't make me regret this. You won't. Dylan walked out of the station and into the parking lot, his mind already 3 steps ahead. He had 6 hours until the hearing. 6 hours to make sure that if Robert Finch walked free, he'd spend every second of his freedom looking over his shoulder. Dylan pulled out his phone and made a call. It rang twice before a gravelly voice answered. Cross, didn't think I'd hear from you again. I need a favor, Reaper. A pause. You left the club, brother? Favors don't follow you out the door. This isn't club business. This is about a kid. Another pause longer this time. What kind of kid? The kind who almost got taken by a predator yesterday. The kind who's about to watch that predator to walk free on bail. Reaper's voice went cold. Where and when? Courthouse, 3 p.m. I just need eyes. You'll have more than eyes. I don't want trouble. Then you called the wrong guy. Dylan smiled, small, grim, dangerous. Maybe I did. He hung up. Then he climbed on his bike, kicked it to life, and rode toward the courthouse. Because Robert Finch was about to learn something very important. The law had rules, Dylan Cross didn't. The courthouse steps were concrete and cold-worn smooth by decades of people walking through doors that promised justice but didn't always deliver. Dylan stood at the bottom, hands in his pockets, watching the flow of lawyers and families and defendants moving in and out like a machine that never stopped grinding. 2:45, 15 minutes until the hearing. His phone buzzed. We're here, north side, 8 bikes. Don't look. Dylan didn't turn his head, but he caught the rumble in the distance, low, steady, unmistakable. The sound of Harleys idling, just out of sight. Reaper hadn't come alone. Dylan texted back, stay low, just watch. We don't do low, brother, but we'll stay clean. That was the best Dylan could hope for. He climbed the steps, passed through security, and followed the signs to courtroom B. The hallway smelled like floor polish and stale air. People sat on benches, waiting for their mazes, some nervous, some bored, some angry. Martinez stood near the courtroom doors, arms crossed. You're early. Wanted a good seat. There are no good seats for this. Dylan's eyes tracked past him to the door. Is he here yet? His lawyer is. Finch is in holding. They'll bring him up when the judge calls the case. What are his chances? Martinez's jaw tightened. Better than they should be. He's got no priors. He's employed. He has community ties. His attorney's arguing that he's not a flight risk. He stalked a 6-year-old. Allegedly stalked. Innocent until proven guilty. You know how it works. Yeah, I know how it works. The system protects predators until they actually hurt someone. Then everyone acts surprised. Martinez didn't argue. The courtroom doors opened. A bailiff stepped out. Finch hearing. Anyone here for the Finch hearing? Dylan walked past Martinez without a word. The courtroom was smaller than he expected. Wood paneling, a judge's bench, a prosecutor's table on the left, defense on the right, a few rows of seats for observers. Dylan took a seat in the back row center aisle. He wanted Finch to see him the moment they brought him in. A woman in her 50s sat 3 seats down, crying quietly, clutching a tissue. A younger woman beside her rubbed her back, whispering. Dylan's attention sharpened. Excuse me, he said quietly. The older woman looked up, startled. Are you here for the Finch case? She nodded, her face crumpling. My daughter, he was her teacher 2 years ago. She just told me last night. She said she was too scared to say anything before. Dylan's blood went cold. How old is she? 9 now. She was 7 when it happened. What happened? The woman's voice dropped to a whisper. He never touched her, but he used to keep her after class. Ask her questions, personal questions, about her family, about where she lived, about whether she walked home alone. Dylan's hands curled into fists. Did you report it? This morning, as soon as I heard his name on the news, the police said they're investigating, but her voice broke. I should have known. I should have seen something. You couldn't have known. I'm her mother. I should have. No. Dylan's voice was firm but not unkind. Predators are good at hiding. That's what makes them dangerous. This isn't your fault. The woman stared at him. Who are you? Oh, someone who stopped him from hurting another kid. Recognition flickered in her eyes. You're the man from the diner. Noah's friend. Yeah. Thank you. God, thank you. If you hadn't been there, the bailiff's voice cut through the room. All rise. The Honorable Judge Patricia Caldwell presiding. Everyone stood. The judge entered a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and silver hair pulled back tight. She sat shuffled papers and looked up. Be seated. Case number 24-7856, People versus Robert Allen Finch. Bail hearing. A side door opened, and Robert Finch walked in. He looked different than he had in the diner. Cleaned up, wearing a suit, hair combed, glasses perched on his nose. He looked like a teacher. He looked harmless. That was the problem. His eyes swept the courtroom calm-controlled until they landed on Dylan and stopped. Something flickered across Finch's face. Not fear, not quite. Recognition, calculation. Then his attorney leaned in, whispered something, and Finch's expression smoothed back into neutrality. The prosecutor stood a woman in her 40s with tired eyes and a stack of files. Your Honor, the people oppose bail. Mr. Finch is charged with stalking a minor and attempted kidnapping. The evidence shows a pattern of predatory behavior spanning multiple incidents. He poses a clear danger to the community, specifically to children. Finch's attorney, a man in an expensive suit with slicked back hair, rose immediately. Your Honor, the prosecution is engaging in inflammatory rhetoric. My client has no prior criminal record. He is a respected educator with deep ties to this community. The allegations are based entirely on the word of a 6-year-old child who cannot reliably identify his supposed stalker. There is no physical evidence, no witnesses, no proof that my client did anything wrong. Dylan's jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. The prosecutor responded, Your Honor, the child's testimony is credible and consistent. Moreover, since Mr. Finch's arrest yesterday, 3 additional families have come forward with similar complaints about Mr. Finch's behavior toward their children. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Finch's attorney didn't miss a beat. Complaints that have never been formally investigated or substantiated. This is a witch hunt, Your Honor. My client is being targeted because of public hysteria. Judge Caldwell's voice cut through like a knife. Counsel, I'll determine what constitutes a witch hunt in my courtroom. Continue. The prosecutor laid out the facts, Noah's statement, the timeline, the description, the fact that Finch had been arrested at the diner where Noah had sought help. She submitted photos from the police report showing Finch's silver ring, his gray jacket, his vehicle parked across from the diner. Then she dropped the hammer. Your Honor, Lincoln Elementary has placed Mr. Finch on administrative leave pending a full investigation. In the past 48 hours, the school district has received reports from 7 families describing similar incidents. Children who felt watched, followed, uncomfortable, all involving Mr. Finch. 7. Dylan's hands gripped the edge of the bench. The mother beside him sobbed quietly. Finch's attorney stood again. Your Honor, these are unsubstantiated claims made in the wake of sensationalized media coverage. Not one of these families filed a police report prior to my client's arrest. This is clearly a coordinated attempt to— Enough. Judge Caldwell's eyes were ice. I've heard enough from both sides. Mr. Finch, stand. Finch rose, his hands clasped in front of him. Mr. Finch, you are charged with serious crimes involving the safety of children. The court takes these allegations very seriously. However, you do have a constitutional right to reasonable bail. Dylan's stomach dropped. She was going to let him out. Bail is set at $500,000, cash or bond. You will surrender your passport. You will be fitted with a GPS monitor. You will have no contact with minors, including but not limited to the alleged victim and any students or former students. You will not come within 500 feet of any school property. Violation of any of these conditions will result in immediate revocation of bail and rearrest. Do you understand? Finch's voice was smooth. Yes, Your Honor. The gavel came down. Next case. The bailiff moved to escort Finch back to holding, but Finch's attorney stepped forward. Your Honor, my client's family is prepared to post bond immediately. Can we expedite processing? Judge Caldwell glanced at the clock. Processing will proceed according to standard protocol. If the bond is posted before 5 p.m., Mr. Finch can be released today. Dylan was already standing. He walked out of the courtroom, his pulse pounding in his ears. Martinez caught up with him in the hallway. Cross, don't. You need to let this go. Dylan spun on him. Let what go? The fact that a predator just got a permission slip to walk the streets as long as he pays enough money. He's monitored. He has conditions. Conditions don't mean anything. You know it. I know it. That ankle monitor, he'll cut it off the second he decides to run, and by the time you realize he's gone, he'll be 3 states away. Martinez's voice dropped. What do you want me to do? I don't make the laws. I just enforce them. Then enforce them better. Dylan walked away before Martinez could respond. Outside, the sun was bright and wrong, like the world hadn't noticed that something terrible had just happened. His phone buzzed. We saw. What's the play? Dylan stared at Reaper's message. He could walk away, go back to his quiet life, let the system handle it. But he thought about Noah's face, about the mother in the courtroom, about the 7 other families who'd finally found the courage to speak up. He typed back, follow him when he's released. Don't engage. Just watch where he goes. And then we make sure he knows he's being watched. Copy that. Dylan pocketed his phone and called Sarah. She answered on the first ring. He made bail. Silence. Then barely audible, oh God. Sarah, listen to me. He has conditions. He can't come near Noah. He can't go near schools. He's being monitored. But he's out. Yeah, he's out. What do we do? You stay where you are. You don't go home. You don't go anywhere he might know about. And you keep Noah close. For how long? Until the trial, or until he violates his bail conditions and they lock him up again. That could be months. I know. Sarah's voice broke. I can't live like this. Noah can't live like this. We can't just hide forever. You're not hiding. You're surviving. There's a difference at Fuyek. Is there? Dylan didn't have an answer for that. He heard Noah's voice in the background asking who was on the phone. I have to go, Sarah said. Noah wants to talk to you. A shuffle, then Noah's voice small and worried. Dylan, hey kid. My mom's scared. I know. Are you scared? Dylan paused. A little. Really be Astigan. Yeah, but being scared doesn't mean we stop. It just means we're careful. Is the bad man still in jail? Dylan closed his eyes. No, he's getting out today. Noah's breath caught. Does he know where we are? No, and he won't. Your mom's making sure of that. But what if he finds us? He won't. How do you know? Because I'm not going to let him. You promise. There it was again. That word, promise. Dylan had already made one promise to this kid. Now Noah was asking for another. And Dylan, against every instinct that told him to protect himself, said it again. I promise. Okay, I believe you. The line went quiet for a moment. Then Noah asked the question Dylan hadn't expected. Dylan, are you going to get in trouble? What do you mean? My mom said you used to be in a motorcycle club. She said you left because you didn't want to be that person anymore. But now you called them. Doesn't that mean you're going back? Dylan's throat tightened. The kid was 6 years old. He shouldn't be this perceptive. I'm not going back, Noah. I just needed help from people I used to know. Why them? Because sometimes the people who know how to fight are the only ones who can protect the people who can't. Noah was quiet, processing. My dad says that too. He says that's why he's a Marine. Your dad's right. Are you like my dad? Dad? Dylan's voice came out rough. No, kid. Your dad's a hero. I'm just trying to do the right thing. I think that's the same thing. Dylan didn't know what to say to that. Sarah's voice came back on the line. Dylan, I have to go. We're heading to my sister's place 2 hours away. I'll text you when we get there. Good. Stay safe. You too. She hung up. Dylan stood on the courthouse steps staring at his phone. Then he looked up and saw them. 8 motorcycles parked in formation across the street. 8 men in leather vests, arms crossed, watching the courthouse entrance. Reaper stood at the front, 6'5" gray beard, scars across his knuckles, from a lifetime of fights he'd never lost. He nodded once. Dylan nodded back. Then he walked down the steps and crossed the street. The club members parted, letting him through. Reaper's voice was gravel and smoke. Didn't think you'd call. Didn't think I'd need to. You look good, Cross. Clean living suits you. I'm not back, Reaper. This is one favor. That's it. Reaper's eyes narrowed. You sure about that? Because from where I'm standing, you just called in 8 guys to help you shadow a pedophile. That doesn't sound like clean living to me. I'm protecting a kid and using the club to do it. I'm using friends. We stopped being friends the day you turned in your patch. Dylan's jaw tightened. So why'd you come? Reaper stepped closer, his voice dropping. Because the one thing this club hates more than traitors is predators. You want this guy watched fine. We'll watch him. But if he steps out of line, if he so much as looks at another kid wrong, we're not calling the cops. We're handling it ourselves. No. Excuse me. I said no. You watch him. You report back to me. But you don't touch him. Because the second you do, this whole thing falls apart. He becomes the victim. We become the bad guys, and he walks. Reaper's face hardened. You've gone soft. No, I've gotten smart. There's a difference. One of the other bikers, a younger guy with a scarred lip, spoke up. So what, we just let this piece of trash walk around free? No, Dylan said. We let him think he's free. We let him make mistakes. We document everything. And when he violates his bail conditions, we hand it all over to the cops. Clean, legal, by the book. The younger biker spat on the ground. That's bull. That's how it has to be. Dylan's voice cut like steel. Because I'm not giving a judge any reason to throw out this case on a technicality. I'm not letting this guy walk on appeal because we couldn't control ourselves. We do this right or we don't do it at all. Reaper studied him for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. Your call, Cross. But you better hope your way works, because if it doesn't and this guy hurts another kid, that's on you. I know. And if we see him doing something wrong and we're not waiting for permission. Fair enough. Reaper turned to the others. You heard him? Eyes only, no contact, document everything. If he stops for gas, we note it. If he meets with someone, we photograph it. If he gets within 100 feet of a school, we call it in. Understood. A chorus of acknowledgments. Reaper looked back at Dylan. When's he getting out? Dylan checked his phone. They said before 5. Processing takes a couple hours. Probably around 4:30. Then we wait. They waited. The sun crawled across the sky. Cars came and went. At 4:15, Dylan's phone rang. Martinez. He's being processed now. They're bringing him down to release. How long? 10 minutes, maybe less. His family's here with the bond money. Who's his family? Mother, sister, both vouching for his character. Dylan's voice went cold. They know what he did. They know what he's accused of. They don't believe it. Of course they don't. Martinez hesitated. Cross whatever you're planning. I'm not planning anything. I'm just watching. That's what worries me. The line went dead. Dylan has walked back to the bikes. He's coming out. 10 minutes. The club members mounted their bikes' engines, rumbling to life. Reaper stayed on foot, standing beside Dylan. You know this might not end the way you want it to. It never does. So why do it? Dylan thought about Noah, about the plastic dinosaur in his pocket, about the promise he'd made. Because somebody has to. At 4:27, the side door of the courthouse opened. Robert Finch walked out. His mother walked beside him, an older woman with a tight face and tired eyes. His sister followed, younger, looking uncomfortable. Finch signed papers, received his personal effects, accepted the GPS monitor on his ankle. Then he looked up and saw Dylan, saw the 8 motorcycles idling across the street, saw the men watching him with eyes that promised nothing good. Finch's face went pale. His attorney touched his arm, said something Dylan couldn't hear. Finch nodded, but his eyes never left Dylan. Then he climbed into his sister's car and they drove away. 8 motorcycles followed. Reaper turned to Dylan. Are you coming? Dylan shook his head. I've got somewhere else to be. Where? Lincoln Elementary. If there are 7 families brave enough to speak up, there might be more who haven't. I want to make sure they know it's safe. Reaper's expression shifted, something close to respect. You really have changed. Had to. The old way wasn't working. Be careful, Cross. Guys like Finch, they don't go down easy. Neither do I. Dylan walked to his bike, kicked it to life, and rode toward the school, because Robert Finch might be free. But his freedom was about to get very, very small. Lincoln Elementary looked like every other school Dylan had ever seen. Brick walls, metal doors, a playground with swings that squeaked in the wind. But standing in the parking lot at 4:45, watching parents pick up their kids from after-school programs, Dylan felt something shift in his chest. Every child walking out those doors could have been Noah. Every parent could have been Sarah. He parked his bike near the main entrance and walked toward the office. A security guard stopped him at the door, young, nervous hand near his radio. Sir, school's closed to visitors. I need to speak with Principal Garrett. Do you have an appointment? No, but I'm the one who stopped Robert Finch 2 days ago. The guard's expression changed. Wait here. He disappeared inside. Dylan stood on the steps watching parents hurry their kids to cars. Some of them looked scared. Some looked angry. All of them looked exhausted. The guard came back with a woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled into a bun, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, a cardigan that had seen better days. Mr. Cross. Yes, ma'am. I'm Principal Garrett. Come with me. She led him through hallways covered in student artwork and motivational posters. Her office was small, cramped with files and books and a coffee maker that looked older than Dylan. She closed the door and gestured to a chair. Sit. Dylan sat. She remained standing, arms crossed. Martinez called me, said you might show up. Did he say why? He said you're worried about families who might be too scared to come forward. He also said you have a history I should be aware of. Dylan's jaw tightened. I'm not here to cause trouble. Then why are you here? Because 7 families reported Finch. That means there are probably more who haven't. Kids who saw what happened on the news and are scared to tell their parents. Parents who suspected something but didn't have proof. Garrett's expression softened slightly. And what exactly do you think you can do about that? I can tell them it's safe, that Finch can't hurt them anymore. But he can. He's out on bail. He's monitored. He has conditions. Conditions can be broken. I know. That's why I'm here. Garrett studied him for a long moment. Then she sat down behind her desk, suddenly looking 10 years older. Do you have children, Mr. Cross? No. Then let me tell you what it's like. You send your kid to school every day as trusting that the adults in that building will keep them safe. You trust the teachers, the staff, the administration. And then one day you find out that one of those adults, someone you trusted, someone your child trusted, was hunting them. Her voice cracked. I've been principal here for 12 years. I hired Robert Finch. I observed his classes. I read his evaluations. I never saw anything wrong. And now I have to look parents in the eye and tell them I failed to protect their children. Dylan leaned forward. You didn't fail. Finch did. He's the predator. He's the one who manipulated everyone. That doesn't make it easier. No, but it's the truth. Garrett wiped her eyes quickly. What do you want from me? Permission to speak at a parent meeting. Let me tell them what happened at the diner. Let them hear from someone who stopped him. Why would that help? Because right now parents are scared. They're angry. They don't know who to trust. But if they hear from someone who isn't part of the system, someone who has no reason to lie, maybe they'll feel safe enough to come forward. Garrett's fingers drummed on her desk. The school board would never approve this. So don't tell them. You're asking me to go behind their backs. I'm asking you to do what's right for these kids. Garrett stared at him. Then she picked up her phone and dialed. Janet, it's Karen. I need you to call every parent from Mr. Finch's classes for the past 2 years. Tell them we're having an emergency meeting tonight at 7. Tell them it's about the investigation. Tell them attendance is strongly encouraged. She hung up. You have 2 hours to figure out what you're going to say. And if this backfires, I'm the one who takes the fall. It won't backfire. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise I'll tell the truth. Dylan left the office and walked back to his bike. His phone buzzed. Target's at home. Hasn't left. Sister's car is still in the driveway. We're watching. Reaper. Dylan typed back. Keep me updated. I'll be at Lincoln Elementary until 9. What are you doing there? Trying to help more kids come forward. You're playing hero again, Cross. That's not who you are. Dylan stared at the message. Then he typed, maybe it's who I need to be. Reaper didn't respond. Dylan called Sarah. Where are you, Daki? At my sister's. We just got here. Noah's okay. Scared, but okay. Good. Listen, I'm at Lincoln Elementary. They're having a parent meeting tonight about Finch. There might be other families who need to hear what happened. Sarah's voice tightened. Do they know he's out? Yeah, that's why I'm here, to make sure they understand he's being monitored. Is that supposed to make us feel better? No, but it's the truth. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Noah wants to talk to you again. Put him on. A shuffle. Then Noah's voice. Dylan. Hey, kid. I can't sleep. Why not? Because I keep thinking about him, the bad man. I keep thinking he's going to find me. Dylan's chest tightened. Noah, listen to me. He doesn't know where you are. He can't come near you. And if he tries, there are a lot of people making sure he doesn't get far. Like who? Like the police, like me, like some friends of mine who are very good at watching people. The motorcycle guys, Dylan paused. The kid was too smart. Yeah, the motorcycle guys. Are they scary? To bad people, yes. To good people, no. Am I a good person? You're the best person I know, Noah. Noah's voice went small. My mom said I have to talk to a counselor. She said it's because of what happened. That's a good idea. Why I'm not crazy? You're not, but talking to someone helps. Trust me. Did you talk to someone after the army? Dylan's throat tightened. For a while, yeah. Did it help? Sometimes, not always, but it was better than keeping it all inside. Noah was quiet. Dylan. Yeah. When my dad comes home, will you meet him? The question hit Dylan harder than it should have. If your dad wants to meet me, sure. He will. I'm going to tell him you saved me. I didn't save you, kid. You saved yourself. I just helped. That's what saving is, though, right? Helping when someone needs it. Dylan didn't have an answer for that. Sarah came back on the line. He's exhausted. I'm going to put him to bed. Good. Keep him close. I will, Dylan. Yeah, thank you for everything. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. You didn't have to get involved. You could have walked away. But you didn't. That means something. Dylan hung up before she could say anything else. At 6:30, parents started arriving at the school. Dylan stood in the back of the cafeteria watching them file in. Some came alone, some came in couples. A few brought their kids or older children who looked confused and scared. Principal Garrett stood at the front with the Martinez beside her. The deputy had shown up unannounced, arms crossed, face unreadable. At 7 o'clock, Garrett called the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. I know this has been a difficult few days. I want to start by addressing the fact. Robert Finch has been charged with stalking and attempted kidnapping. As of this afternoon, he has been released on bail with strict conditions. He is not allowed near schools. He is not allowed near children. He is being monitored by GPS. A father in the front row stood up. That's not good enough. My daughter was in his class last year. She just told us yesterday that he used to walk her to her car after school. Said he was being helpful. We thought he was being nice. Now we don't know what to think. Another parent spoke up, a mother with red-rimmed eyes. My son said the same thing. Mr. Finch would offer to carry his backpack, would ask him questions about our family. We trusted him. Garrett's voice stayed calm. I understand your anger. I share it. But right now, the most important thing is making sure any child who experienced inappropriate behavior from Mr. Finch feels safe coming forward. Deputy Martinez is here to take statements. Martinez nodded. Anyone who has information should speak with me after this meeting. Everything you share will be documented and investigated. A man in the back called out, "What if we're wrong? What if we're accusing an innocent man?" Dylan felt every muscle in his body tense. Martinez answered, "If you have concerns, voice them. Let us investigate. But understand the pattern we're seeing suggests this was calculated behavior over an extended period." Another father stood. "I want to know who stopped him. I heard someone at a diner called it in. Is that person here?" Garrett looked at Dylan. "Mr. Cross, would you mind?" Every eye in the room turned to him. Dylan stepped forward slowly, feeling the weight of their stares. "I'm Dylan Cross. I was at Mercer's Diner 2 days ago when Noah Harper came in. He told me he'd been followed from school. I called the police. They arrested Finch." A mother near the front spoke up. "You're the biker." "Yeah." "Why did you help?" "Because a scared kid asked me to." "That's it," Dylan's voice hardened. "That's enough." The woman stared at him. "I've seen you around town. People say you used to run with a rough crowd." "They're right, I did." "So why should we trust you?" Dylan stepped closer, his voice dropping, but carrying through the room. "Because I know what it's like to be a kid who's scared and alone and doesn't know who to turn to. Because I spent my whole life wishing someone had helped me when I needed it. And because when Noah walked into that diner, I saw a chance to be the person I needed when I was his age. That's why you should trust me." Silence. Then a man in the middle row stood. My daughter's in fourth grade. She had Mr. Finch last year. 2 months ago, she stopped wanting to go to school. Wouldn't tell us why. Just said she didn't feel safe. We thought she was being bullied by other kids. Now I'm wondering if it was him. Martinez pulled out a notepad. I need to speak with you after this. Another parent stood, then another, then three more. One by one, stories poured out. A boy who said Mr. Finch used to follow him to the bathroom and wait outside. A girl who said Mr. Finch would find reasons to keep her after class. A mother who said her son had nightmares about school but couldn't explain why. Dylan listened to all of it, his hands clenched at his sides. Garrett's voice cut through. How many of you have concerns you haven't reported? Nearly a third of the room raised their hands. Martinez stepped forward. Everyone who raised their hand, please stay after. We're going to take statements from all of you. A father near Dylan spoke quietly. Will it matter he's already out on bail? Dylan turned to him. It matters. Because every statement you give builds the case against him. Every piece of evidence makes it harder for him to walk away. He thinks he's safe right now. He thinks he can wait this out. But if you speak up, you take that safety away. The father's jaw tightened. What if he comes after us? What if he retaliates? He won't. How do you know? Because he's being watched. Every move he makes, every place he goes, and if he steps out of line, he's done. The man looked at Dylan, really looked at him. You're watching him. It wasn't a question. Dylan nodded once. The man's expression hardened. Good. The meeting broke up into smaller groups. Martinez moved from family to family, taking statements. Garrett stood at the front, talking to parents who needed reassurance. Dylan stayed in the back, watching it all unfold. His phone buzzed. Target's on the move. Just left his house. Heading east on Birch Street. Dylan's pulse kicked up. Where's he going? Don't know yet. We're staying back. Dylan checked the time. 8:15. Finch's bail conditions said he couldn't be near schools. Birch Street ran parallel to Lincoln Elementary. Dylan typed fast. How close is he to Lincoln? 3 blocks. Dylan's blood went cold. Is he slowing down? Yeah, driving real slow, like he's looking for something. Dylan was already moving. He pushed through the cafeteria doors, ran to his bike, kicked it to life. Martinez saw him leaving and followed. Cross, where are you going? Finch is 3 blocks away. Martinez's face went white. He's violating bail. Not yet, not technically, but if he gets any closer, I'm calling it in. Dylan didn't wait. He roared out of the parking lot and onto Birch Street. 2 blocks down, he saw the car, a gray sedan, driving 15 miles an hour, the driver's head turning toward the school. Dylan pulled up alongside matching speed. Finch saw him. Their eyes met, and something passed between them, a challenge, a threat, a promise. Finch's foot hit the gas. The car accelerated. Dylan followed. They raced through residential streets, Finch taking corners too fast, Dylan staying right behind him. Then Finch made a mistake. He ran a red light. Sirens wailed behind them. 2 patrol cars' lights flashing. Finch pulled over. Dylan pulled over 50 feet back. The officers approached Finch's car, hands near their weapons. One of them recognized Dylan and walked over. You following this guy? Yeah. Why, it may have been? Because he just violated his bail conditions. He was 3 blocks from Lincoln Elementary. School's in session for a parent meeting. He knows that. The officer's jaw tightened. You sure? I'm sure. The officer walked back to his partner. They conferred. Then they pulled Finch out of the car. Dylan watched as they cuffed him. Watched as they read him his rights. Watched as Finch's face twisted with rage. Then Finch looked at Dylan and screamed, You did this? You set me up. Dylan didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. Finch thrashed against the officers. I wasn't doing anything, I was just driving. Sir, you need to calm down. This is harassment, this is illegal. They shoved him into the back of the patrol car. Martinez pulled up, moments later got out, walked straight to Dylan. What the hell happened? He drove 3 blocks from the school. You tell me. That doesn't prove anything. It proves he's testing the limits, seeing how close he can get. That's what predators do. Martinez stared at the patrol car. His attorney's going to argue this was coincidental. Maybe, but now he's violated a traffic law with an active GPS monitor. That's enough to hold him overnight. And by tomorrow morning, every parent in that cafeteria will have given statements. The DA will have enough to revoke bail permanently. Martinez looked at Dylan. You planned this. I didn't plan anything. I just made sure I was paying attention. The club's been following him, haven't they? Dylan didn't answer. Martinez's voice dropped. I can't protect you if this goes sideways. I'm not asking you to. What are you asking? I'm asking you to do your job. Lock him up. Keep him there. Make sure he never gets near another kid. Martinez nodded slowly. I'll do my best. Your best better be good enough. Dylan rode back to the school. Inside, parents were still giving statements. Garrett saw him come in and pulled him aside. What happened? Finch violated bail. He's in custody. Her face crumpled with relief. Thank God. Don't thank God yet. His attorney will fight this. But you said, I said he violated bail. That doesn't mean a judge won't let him out again. You need to make sure every single family in this room gives a statement tonight. The stronger the case, the harder it is for him to walk. Garrett nodded. I will. Dylan started to leave, then stopped. One more thing. You should know there are barred people watching him. People who won't let him hurt anyone else. What people? People who don't follow the same rules you do. Garrett's eyes widened. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Dylan walked out before she could respond. His phone rang. Sarah. I saw the news. They said Finch was arrested again. Yeah, he got too close to the school. So he's back in jail. For now. What does that mean? It means you stay where you are, you keep Noah safe, and you let me worry about Finch. Dylan, I need to know. Is this really over? Dylan looked at the school at the parents still inside fighting for their kids. No, but it's getting there. How long? As long as it takes, Sarah's voice broke. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to. Just keep that kid safe. That's all the thanks I need. He hung up and stood in the parking lot watching the lights inside the school. Watching parents fight for their children. Watching a community refuse to stay silent. And for the first time since this all started, Dylan felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the naive kind, the hard-won kind, the kind that came from watching people choose courage over fear. His phone buzzed one more time. Target's in custody. We're clear. You need us for anything else. Dylan typed back. No, thanks, Reaper. You owe me Cross. I know. Stay safe, brother. Dylan pocketed his phone and climbed on his bike. But instead of heading home, he rode to Sarah's sister's house 2 hours away. Because Noah needed to know. Needed to know that the bad man was locked up again. Needed to know he was safe. And Dylan wasn't going to let him spend another night scared. The 2-hour ride gave Dylan too much time to think. About Noah's face when he'd first walked into that diner. About Sarah's tears. About the mother in the courtroom who'd blamed herself for not seeing what was happening to her daughter. About the 23 families who'd given statements tonight, 23 kids who'd finally found their voices. And about the fact that none of it would have happened if Noah hadn't been brave enough to trust a stranger. Sarah's sister lived in a small house on the edge of Millbrook, a town so quiet Dylan could hear crickets over his engine as he pulled into the driveway. The porch light was on. Through the window, he could see movement inside. He cut the engine and sat for a moment, suddenly unsure. What was he doing here? He'd done what he needed to do. Finch was back in custody. The families were speaking up. The system was working slowly and perfectly, but working. Noah didn't need him anymore. But even as Dylan thought it, he knew it was a lie, because this wasn't about what Noah needed. It was about what Dylan needed. He needed to look that kid in the eye and tell him he was safe. He needed to know that for once, just once, he'd done something that mattered. Dylan walked to the door and had knocked. Sarah answered, still dressed, eyes exhausted but alert. Dylan, I didn't think you'd actually come. I said I would. She stepped aside, letting him in. The house smelled like coffee and something baking. Sarah's sister, younger, with the same blonde hair and worried eyes, stood in the kitchen doorway. You're the biker. Yeah. Noah hasn't stopped talking about you. Is he asleep? Sarah shook her head. He tried, but every time he closes his eyes, he asks if the bad man is coming. I told him you'd arrested him again, but... Her voice cracked. He needs to hear it from you. Where is he? Upstairs, second door on the right. Dylan climbed the stairs, his boots heavy on the wood. The hallway was narrow, lined with family photos, Kids' graduations, birthdays, normal life. He knocked on the second door. Come in. Dylan opened it. Noah sat on the bed, still dressed, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. His eyes were red from crying, but when he saw Dylan, his whole face changed. You came. I said I would. Noah scrambled off the bed and hugged him. Dylan's arms came up automatically this time, no hesitation, and he held the kid close. I was scared you wouldn't. I know, but I'm here. Noah pulled back, looking up at him. My mom said he got arrested again. Is that true? Yeah, he violated his bail conditions. He drove too close to the school. So he's in jail. He's in jail. Forever. Dylan crouched down to Noah's level. Not forever yet, but the judge is going to decide if he stays there until the trial. And with all the families who spoke up tonight, I think the judge is going to say yes. How many families? 23. Noah's eyes went wide. 23. 23 kids who said Mr. Finch made them uncomfortable. 23 families who are telling the truth because you were brave enough to do it first. Noah's voice went small. I didn't feel brave. That's what makes it brave. You were scared, but you did the right thing anyway. Noah sat back down on the bed, his hands twisting the dinosaur's tail. Dylan, yeah, what if they let him out again? There it was, the question that wouldn't go away. Dylan sat beside him. Then we deal with it. Your mom, me, the police, everyone who cares about you. We keep you safe. But what if you're not there? I'll be there. Promise. Dylan had promised this kid twice already. Each time felt like a weight he couldn't put down. But looking at Noah's face at the trust and fear and hope all mixed together, Dylan realized something. He didn't want to put it down. I promise. Noah leaned against him and they sat in silence for a moment. Then Noah spoke. My dad's coming home early. Dylan's chest tightened. When 3 weeks. My mom called him yesterday and told him what happened. He's getting emergency leave. That's good. You'll feel safer when he's here. Will you still come see me? The question hit Dylan harder than he expected. You want me to? Yeah, I want you to meet my dad. I want to tell him about you. Dylan's throat felt tight. What are you going to tell him? That you saved me, that you're my friend. Friend. Dylan hadn't had a friend in 5 years. Your dad might not like me, kid. I'm not exactly the kind of person most Marines want around their families. Why not? Because I've made a lot of mistakes. Done things I'm not proud of. Noah looked up at him. My dad says everyone makes mistakes. He says what matters is what you do after. Your dad sounds like a smart guy. He is, and I think he'll like you. Why? Because you did what he would have done. You protected me when he couldn't. Dylan didn't know what to say to that. Sarah's voice came from the doorway. Noah, it's time for bed. Can Dylan stay for a few more minutes? Sarah looked at Dylan, something unreadable in her eyes. If he doesn't mind. I don't mind. Sarah left, pulling the door halfway closed. Noah climbed under the covers, still holding the dinosaur. Dylan, yeah. Will you tell me a story? What kind of story? A brave one. Dylan thought for a moment. When I was in the Army, we were stationed in a place where every day was dangerous. One time, our convoy got hit by an ambush. Everyone was scared. But there was this kid, couldn't have been more than 19, who ran straight into the fire to pull his buddy to safety. He got shot doing it, but he saved that guy's life. Noah's eyes were wide. Did he die? No, he lived. And you know what he said after? What? He said he wasn't brave. He said he was just doing what needed to be done. Noah was quiet, processing. Is that what you did? What needed to be done? Yeah, I guess it is. Then you're brave too. Dylan's chest felt like it might crack open. Get some sleep, kid. Okay, will you be here in the morning? No, but I'll call you tomorrow, and I'll come see you when your dad gets home. Promise? Promise. Noah's eyes finally closed. Dylan stood, walked to the door, then stopped. Noah, yeah, thank you. For what? For trusting me. Noah smiled sleepily. You're welcome. Dylan walked downstairs. Sarah and her sister were waiting in the living room. Sarah stood immediately. Is he asleep? Yeah, finally. She exhaled, her whole body sagging with relief. Thank you. I don't know what we would have done without you. You would have figured it out. Would we? I'm not so sure. Dylan shifted uncomfortably. I should go. Wait, Sarah crossed the room, her hands wringing together. I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Why are you doing this? Really? And don't give me that line about wishing someone had helped you when you were a kid. There's more to it than that. Dylan's jaw tightened. I don't know what you want me to say. The truth. Dylan looked away, his hands curling into fists. I spent 10 years of my life being angry at the world, at the army, at the club, at myself. I hurt people who didn't deserve it. I made choices I can't take back. And then one day I looked in the mirror and realized I'd become exactly the kind of man I swore I'd never be. His voice dropped. So I left, walked away from everything, tried to start over. But starting over doesn't erase what you've done. It just means you have to live with it. Sarah's eyes filled. And then Noah walked into that diner. And for the first time in years, I had a chance to be the person I should have been all along. So yeah, maybe I'm doing this for him, but I'm also doing it for me. Because I need to know that I'm capable of being something other than the man I used to be. Sarah stepped forward and took his hand. You already are. Dylan's throat worked, but no words came out. Sarah's sister spoke from the couch. You're welcome here anytime. Both of you are safe here, and when Mark comes home, he's going to want to meet you. Dylan nodded, not trusting his voice. He walked to the door, then turned back. If anything changes, if you hear anything about Finch, if Noah has nightmares, if you need anything, you call me. Doesn't matter what time. We will. Dylan rode home through the darkness, his mind quieter than it had been in days. When he got back to his apartment, there was a message waiting on his phone. Martinez. Cross, it's me. Bail was officially revoked an hour ago. Judge looked at the GPS data, the violation, and the 23 family statements. She's holding him until trial. No bond. Thought you should know. Dylan listened to the message 3 times. Then he sat on his couch and let himself breathe. 3 weeks passed. Dylan fell into a rhythm he didn't know he needed. He went to work construction, hauling steel, the kind of labor that made his body ache and his mind go quiet. He went to the gym. He called Noah every few days, listening to the kid talk about school and friends and the Pteranodon book he'd gotten from the library. And he stayed away from the club. Reaper called twice. Dylan didn't answer. On the 22nd day, Sarah called. Mark's home. Dylan's grip tightened on the phone. How is he? Angry, exhausted, relieved, all of it at once. She paused. He wants to meet you. When? Tomorrow? Can you come to dinner? Dylan hesitated. Sarah, I don't think... Please, Noah's been asking every day, and Mark needs to thank the man who protected his son when he couldn't. He doesn't owe me anything. Maybe not, but we want you here. Dylan closed his eyes. What time? 6. I'll be there. The next evening, Dylan stood outside Sarah's house, their real house, not her sister's, for the first time. It was small, well kept, with a tire swing in the yard and Noah's bike on the porch. Normal. Safe. Dylan knocked. Noah answered, his face lighting up. Dylan? The kid hugged him, and Dylan felt something in his chest ease. Hey kid, you doing okay? I'm good. My dad's home. Come meet him. Noah grabbed his hand and pulled him inside. The man standing in the living room was exactly what Dylan expected. Tall, broad-shouldered, buzzed hair eyes that had seen too much. He wore jeans and a Marine Corps t-shirt, and his stance was the kind that never fully relaxed. Mark Harper. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Mark stepped forward and extended his hand. Dylan Cross. Dylan shook it. Mark Harper. Mark's grip was firm, his eyes searching. My son says you saved his life. Your son saved himself. I just made a phone call. That's not what I heard. I heard you put yourself between him and a predator. Twice. Dylan's jaw tightened. Any decent person would have done the same. No, they wouldn't have. Most people would have looked the other way. Mark's voice roughened. I was on the other side of the world when my kid needed help. I couldn't protect him. You did. So I'm going to say this once, and I need you to hear it. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Dylan nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Sarah appeared from the kitchen. Dinner's ready. They sat around the table, Sarah, Mark, Noah, and Dylan. It felt strange and right all at once. They ate pot roast and potatoes, and Noah talked nonstop about school and his friends, and the fact that Mr. Finch's trial was scheduled for next month. Mark listened carefully, his hand never far from Noah's shoulder. Then he looked at Dylan. Martinez filled me in on everything. The diner, the courthouse, the school, the club. Dylan went still. The club doesn't matter. That's over. Is it? Yeah, it is. Mark studied him. You walked away from them. I had to. Why no matón? Because I was becoming someone I didn't want to be. Mark nodded slowly. I get that. I've been there. Different circumstances, same feeling. They talked for another hour about the army, about deployment, about what it meant to come home and find the world didn't quite fit anymore. Sarah and Noah eventually left the table, giving them space. Finally, Mark spoke. Noah wants you in his life. Sarah does too. And after hearing everything you've done, I think that's a good thing. But I need to know something. What? Are you staying or are you going to disappear the second this gets complicated? Dylan looked him dead in the eye. I'm staying. Why bye? Because that kid trusted me when he had no reason to, and I'm not going to let him down. Mark's expression softened. Good, because he's going to need people like you around. This trial's going to be hard. The counseling's going to be hard. Growing up knowing what almost happened is going to be hard. He's going to need a village. I'm not good at being part of a village. Neither am I, but we figure it out. Dylan nodded. When he left that night, Noah walked him to the door. You're coming back, right? Yeah, kid, I'm coming back. Promise? Dylan smiled, small, genuine, real. Promise. The trial happened 6 weeks later. Dylan sat in the courtroom every single day. So did Sarah and Mark. So did 19 of the 23 families who'd given statements. They watched as prosecutors laid out the evidence, the GPS data, the witness statements, the pattern of behavior spanning 2 years. They watched as Finch's defense attorney tried to discredit the children's testimonies, tried to paint his client as a misunderstood educator. And they watched as one by one parents stood up and told the truth. On the 7th day, the jury came back. Guilty on all counts. Finch didn't react. He just stared straight ahead, his face blank. But when the judge sentenced him to 20 years without parole, something in the courtroom shifted. Parents hugged. Some cried. Some just sat in stunned silence. Mark put his arm around Sarah. Noah looked up at Dylan. Is it over? Dylan crouched down. Yeah, kid, it's over. Really over, really over. Noah hugged him tight. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Families gave statements. Martinez stood at the center fielding questions. Dylan stayed on the edge watching. Then Principal Garrett approached. Mr. Cross? Ma'am, I wanted you to know Lincoln Elementary is implementing new safety protocols. Background checks every year. Mandatory reporting training for all staff. Anonymous tip lines for students and parents. Good. And we're starting a program, teaching kids how to recognize dangerous situations, how to trust their instincts, how to find help. She paused. We're calling it Noah's Voice. Dylan's throat tightened. Does he know? Not yet, but we thought you should be the one to tell him. Dylan looked back at Noah, standing with his parents, smiling for the first time in months. Yeah, I'll tell him. Garrett touched his arm. What you did mattered. I hope you know that. Dylan didn't respond. Because he did know. For the first time in his life, he knew. 6 months later, Dylan stood in the parking lot of Lincoln Elementary watching kids pour out of the building. Laughing, running, safe. Noah spotted him and waved. Dylan, did you come to pick me up? Yeah, your mom said it was okay. Noah ran over his backpack, bouncing. Guess what? I got an A on my dinosaur project. And Mrs. Chen said I did a good job presenting. That's great, kid. They walked to Dylan's truck. He'd traded the bike for something more practical and climbed in. Where are we going? Ice cream. Your mom said 1 scoop. Can I get 2? We'll see. They drove through town and Noah chattered about school and friends and the fact that his dad was teaching him how to throw a baseball. At the ice cream shop, they sat outside on a bench. Noah ate his cone 2 scoops because Dylan was a pushover and swung his legs. Dylan, yeah, are you happy? The question caught him off guard. What makes you ask that? Because you smile more now, and my mom says you look different. Lighter, she said. Dylan thought about it. 6 months ago, he'd been a man with no purpose, no direction, no connection to anything or anyone. Now he had a job he didn't hate, a kid who called him once a week just to talk, a family who'd invited him to Thanksgiving, A community that nodded when he walked by instead of crossing the street. Yeah, kid, I'm happy. Noah beamed. Good, you deserve to be happy. Dylan's chest felt full. So do you. They finished their ice cream and drove back to Noah's house. Mark was in the driveway working on his truck. Dylan, good to see you. You too. You sticking around for dinner? Dylan glanced at Noah, who was nodding frantically. Yeah, I can stay. Inside, Sarah was cooking and the house smelled like home. They ate together, laughing and telling stories, and Dylan realized something. This was what he'd been searching for his entire life. Not redemption, not forgiveness, just a place where he belonged. That night, as Dylan drove home, his phone buzzed. A text from Noah. Thank you for everything. You're my hero. Dylan stared at the words for a long time. Then he typed back, You're the brave one, kid. I just helped. Noah replied immediately, That's what heroes do. Dylan smiled and pocketed his phone. He thought about the man he used to be, angry, isolated, drowning in mistakes he couldn't undo. And he thought about the man he was now, still flawed, still carrying scars but no longer alone. All because a scared 6-year-old boy had chosen to trust him, had chosen to believe that sometimes the scariest looking person in the room is exactly who you need. Dylan pulled into his driveway and sat for a moment, the engine ticking as it cooled. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small plastic dinosaur Noah had given him that first day, the Ankylosaurus with its armor and club tail. Nobody messes with that guy, Dylan had said. He'd been talking about the dinosaur, but maybe he'd been talking about himself too, because Dylan Cross had spent his whole life building armor to protect himself from a world that had hurt him. And then one scared kid had walked through that armor like it was paper and shown him something he'd forgotten. That being strong isn't about building walls. It's about standing still when someone smaller needs you to be their shelter. Dylan pocketed the dinosaur, walked into his apartment, and finally, for the first time in years, felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be.